Natasha knows. Natasha knows. You know what it is. Natasha knows.
Hi, welcome to the Natasha No Show. I'm your host, Natasha. Today I have a very, very special show. I have a guest, MZ, performing Hot City Nights in Harlem. This show is basically in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as domestic violence awareness. And I have a guest who is fighting, tenacious woman, both of them actually are, by the name of Nadine Phillips, who is currently battling stage 4 breast cancer. And then I also have Anika Beckles, who is a domestic violence survivor. So welcome to the Natasha No Show.
I went to kneel at the altar. I went to sing at the shrine. I went to yell to the heavens. I went to walk through the fire. I put flowers on the temple. I put incense on display. Burning, baby, I took to prayer every morning, night and day. And I put the crystals in the moonshine. And I whispered on the breeze. I was calling out to you, baby. Come back and replace these memories. Hot nights in Harlem, in your red lit room. Hot nights in Harlem. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Used to meet me on the dance floor. You turn me on, you turn me out. Used to shake me till the break of dawn. We gave the people something to talk about. Used to tell me that you love me. Used to say that you'll be true. But now you're loving someone else, baby. And I'm left with all these memories of you. Hot nights in Harlem, in your red lit room. Hot nights in Harlem. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can't forget about it. 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 Now that you are gone, how can I move on? When you hurt, you hurt. When you
welcome back to the Natasha Knows Show. I'm your host, Natacha. Today's guest, I have Emma Zakarfishis, aka MZ. MZ is a modern-day Renaissance woman who is from Australia. She is an accomplished visual artist and musician. She traveled to New York in 2003 to pursue her talents in fine arts. She holds 2 master's degrees in fine arts with a focus on painting and filmmaking. She has been the lead singer of the psychedelic rock and roll band Crazy Mary since 2007 and is no stranger to the New York stage. In 2012, MZ formed punk soul cabaret group Big Sexy Music. In 2013, she has debuted her self-produced album, Postcards. She may be from the land down under, yet MZ is headed straight for the top. Please join me in welcoming MZ. Thank you for joining me on the Natasha Knows Show. Yeah, so I kind of pretty much jump right into the questions.
Please do.
And I have a general question that I ask all my guests first, which is like what you're currently up to and what do you do in your spare time?
Okay, I am currently still with my band Crazy Mary, 10 years strong. I am doing a project now called Big Sexy and the Brothers, which is a collaboration punk. It's a it's pop, funk, rock. It's like a dirty, gritty, hard-hitting kind of project. So I got lots of music going on. We were just in the studio on the weekend recording, so we're doing that. Making music videos. I do a lot of artwork, photography, drawing, filmmaking, editing.
Nice. So what inspired you to make the switch from fine arts to becoming a lead singer?
I don't think the one takes place over the other. They both exist together.
Okay. Tell us how, like in what way?
I've always considered myself to be an artist first and foremost, regardless of the medium that's involved. So visual art was my vehicle to come to this point, and now music has taken over, not taken over, but it's become more of a focus in the last couple of years. And that's not to say that visual art is not there. I do visual art all the time, and I feel like my understanding of visual art informs my music completely, because the way I see things. So as an artist, as when you're drawing, you're always thinking about space and thinking poetically about these spaces or abstract thinking. And I feel like that has carried over into my music, or how I write my lyrics, or even when you're like a painting, you know, you build it up and you add the colors.
Right.
It's the same as a song. You know, you start with a drawing, you start with the track, and then you sort of build it and you add the colors, or you know, sometimes refine it. And it's kind of the same thing.
Okay. Who do you have like a favorite artist?
Oh, I have so many favorite artists, and we were talking about music, me and my friend yesterday. Talking Heads is like one of my favorite sort of bands, because
Is it like a punk rock band or?
Well, they started out in visual arts. They were studying visual arts, and then they kind of brought that theatrical.
That's actually like the new wave, like VJing.
Right.
You know, it's
I think it's
like
a crossover of all those things.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
like you can go and play in a bar, and that's great. I love that. But you know, in the end, I would like to, you know, create a play or something that ties it all together.
Having like the visuals along with the music and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people, they need to be taken on a journey.
Yeah.
And we're very saturated in our culture, and you know, it's like how do you tell your story and draw people in?
Right. Exactly. So could you tell us like walk us through really quickly, because before I have you go, I want you to tell us like your next show and things like that, like where you're going to be so we can follow you. Walk us through like you writing a song, or you know, getting ready to perform. Like, is there like a certain ritual type of routine that you do every time?
Songs have the manifestation of songs have various modes of occurring. Sometimes I might be just walking down the street, and literally the beat of my walk, I'll be like, I'll start, something will bubble up, like a melody.
I love it.
And like I will record it on my voice recorder, or on even the Facebook Messenger to myself, and I'll just leave it for later. Like the other day I went through my messages and found all this little notes, typed them all up, it was a complete song.
Wow.
Other times I might have an idea, a concept, and start with a beat, and then build that and then bring it to the band and they morph it into something completely different. Or my collaborator might send me a track and say, do you want to write lyrics for this? So that's kind of like different processes. For preparing for a show, I always work out before a show.
Work out?
Like,
yeah,
like
I can tell.
hard.
You're like physically fit.
So I like to go and like do some, like my last show, I worked out for like 3 hours before the show.
Wow.
And then when I'm on, you know, because then when you step on stage, you're
ready.
You're already in the zone.
Right.
Because I don't want to be like warmed up after the 4th song. I want to hit it, and because you know, capturing an audience in the interim of like people are leaving after that show and you're about to play, you got to capture them before they leave.
Exactly.
And they got to be like, oh, what's that?
Yeah. Well, capture the viewers and tell us where you're going to be next.
Going to be at the Shrine, which is in Harlem.
Okay.
Between 134th, 135th on Adam Clayton Powell.
When?
November 18th.
Okay.
We're going to be previewing my new music video, Hot Nights in Harlem, which is coming.
Okay. Well, thank you for being a guest on the Natasha Noel Show.
Yay.
Yes.
Thanks.
We'll be back. Hi, welcome back to the Natasha Noel Show. I'm your host, Natacha. Today's guest, I have Nadine Phillips, who is an author, a cancer survivor, who has decided to share her story. Nadine has obtained a bachelor's degree in human services and social science and a master's degree in college student personnel, counseling for higher education, and she's currently pursuing her doctorate degree. Nadine is also an adjunct professor at Bergen Community College. She loves helping people, and most importantly, she is a God-fearing Christian and a mother of 2. Please join me in welcoming Miss Nadine Phillips.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being a guest on the Natasha Noel Show. So, I usually just jump right into it.
Okay.
So my first question to my guests, I always want to get like a personable side to them, like here. So with that being said, what are you currently up to and what do you do in your spare time?
Well, currently I am the one-stop manager at Bergen Community College and the assistant director of the registrar. In my past time, I am advocating and always trying to encourage others, either that are sick or that are caregivers of someone that's sick. And that's probably, or it's mostly because I am a cancer survivor myself. And I understand the journey, and I just want to empower others that are in my situation.
Okay. So, and with that said, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, what do you do to kind of honor those who may be suffering from breast cancer or maybe, you know, advocating on behalf of breast cancer? What do you do to advocate for those persons or for yourself?
Well, especially during the month of October, I try to provide education to those who are unfamiliar with breast cancer, the statistics, and how important it is to have self-detection, and how important it is to see a doctor and have a mammogram. The other days of the year or months of the year, what I do is I visit the ill, and it's usually through word of mouth or referral, and I try to encourage them because I want them to know that their diagnosis is not the end. And if they believe, if their faith is increased, or they don't take what the doctors are saying and put validity to that, if they speak life into their situation, that their circumstance can change.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at you, and I get like such a warm feeling inside because of the fact that you're so beautiful.
Thank you.
You know, you're welcome. And I would never, I can't tell that you may be battling what you may be battling. You know, I can't tell it. It doesn't show. Whereas some people, it may show, you know, more so. So tell us a little bit about, you wrote a book.
Yes.
Tell us about what inspired you to write the book
Okay. The book
before
is,
we get into the book.
okay. What inspired me to write Stage 4, A Strangely Packaged Gift, was I was diagnosed in 2013 with Stage 4 after being in remission for 10 years of Stage 2. And the day of my diagnosis, my sister, we're 11 months apart. She was in her clinical stage of nursing school. And she said, Nadine, you know, if your cancer is back and it's in an organ, you're probably another stage. So find out what stage you are. So the day I found out what stage I was the day my sister passed.
Oh, wow.
And it was
sorry
very
to
hard
hear
for
that.
me. Thank you. It was very hard for me.
Was she older? Were you older? Who was older?
I'm 11 months older than my sister.
Oh, okay.
So when I went through the journey, I wanted to dedicate the book to her because she's also about empowering sick people, why she wanted to be a nurse. And I want to empower people that have cancer or any illness because I just believe that me being stage 4, and I also had cancer in 8 places. Now I
Wow.
don't. I believe that
Well, that's
faith.
good.
Thank you.
Yes.
I believe that faith, I believe that mindset, and I believe that a support system is all a part of the healing process.
Yes, that's
And
very important.
I want to share that experience with others, and that's what inspired the book.
Okay. So could you get into a little bit of, maybe tell us a special insert about the book that you, while you were writing it, it kind of touched you?
Okay. I remember they were sending me to hospice. I had been in a hospital over 3 months, and the doctors pretty much said they were sending me home to be comfortable. And I just refused to believe that because I had, at the time, an 8-year-old. And she is also very faith-driven. And I remember her coming to the hospital and praying for me. And the prayer was so convincing even to me that I believe that this young woman, if she can pray that kind of prayer and believe that God can do it, then who am I to even doubt during that time? And after the doctors pretty much giving up and everyone surrounding me was pretty much coming to say goodbye, I said a prayer myself. And after 3 months of nothing, I woke up the next morning and was able to not only do all the things I couldn't do, but I made God a promise. I said, if you get me out of hospice and deliver me from this hospital bed, I would share my miracles. And after having cancer in 8 places, I was able to not just be healed of cancer in all those places.
Wow.
Within
God
2
bless.
months, I was back to work, had a new position. I had bought a house. I had signed up for the doctorate program.
Wow.
And I'll be a doctor the end of December 2018.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Like,
you.
I'm sorry. I'm all stopping, clapping,
Yes.
because that's the type of person I am. And I'm
Yes.
like getting goosebumps with you telling your story.
Yes.
You know, telling
It's
us
all-
your story.
You know, it's funny, you had a Freudian slip. You said my story. It's everybody's story.
Yeah, I was going
Because
I didn't mean my story.
it is your story. It's everybody's story. Everyone has a stage 4 situation. You know, it just so happened to literally, that's what mine is. But everyone has a stage 4. It could be the job. It could be their children. It could be another health situation.
Yeah.
But I want, when you read stage 4,
Yes.
that there is a journey or there is a situation in this book that applies to everyone. And I hope that when you read the book, that if it doesn't just empower you, that you can pass it on and help someone else.
Right. Oh, so could you tell like the viewers about what you're going to do next seminar that you may be speaking, you know, at and things like that?
Well, currently I'm visiting churches and bookstores and
All across the country.
all across the country. So if you're interested in my book,
Yes.
please go to www.NadinePhillipsStage4FOUR.com. You can also order it on Amazon, and I am available to speak at any time. Just let me know.
Well, can we contact you via social media? Or?
Yes, you can.
So-
My Facebook name for the book is called Stage 4.
Okay. All right.
Natasha knows. Natasha knows. You know what it is. Natasha knows.
Hi, welcome back to the Natasha No Show. My next guest is Anika Beckles. Anika is a single mother, divorcee, who has a professional certification in cosmetology. She has been working in the hair industry for over 25 years and enjoys making others look and feel beautiful. Anika is a walking testimony of faith, love, strength, and she is the epitome of a powerful Black woman. Please join me in welcoming Anika Beckles. Thank you for being a guest on the Natasha No Show. I know this may be hard for you. This show is a special show because it's in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well as domestic violence. And Anika's gonna, I'm not gonna tell her story for her, but she's gonna tell her story. I would like to ask you, do you need a moment? You wanna go? No, you're all right. Don't be sorry. You're gonna make me cry. Okay. You okay?
I'm okay.
All right. You're good. So, I'm just before we get into why you're here, I usually ask the question of like, what do you do in your spare time and things like that. But we can skip that question because we already know you do hair and you've been doing hair for a while. She actually did my hair a few times because we have a history together. We actually went to grammar school and high school together.
Correct.
So she's a very dear friend to me. She's here because she wants to tell her story to perhaps inspire others who may be experiencing domestic violence. So in honor, once more, in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, do you care to share a little bit of what you're currently experiencing?
Absolutely. My partner and I made a beautiful child. He was born in November, and I began to get physically and verbally abused shortly after his arrival. There were 3 separate instances where the police were called, but I kept ignoring and kept going back because I wanted a family structure. And I wanted my son to have his dad. I'm not a stranger to domestic violence because my family has a history. But I thought that I can control it. I thought it would subside. And I thought that we can get past it.
So do you mind me, if you don't mind me rather, were you experiencing abuse before your son was born or
No,
it was
not at
after?
all. After. We've been together a total of 5 years, and it began at the end of the 5th year.
Wow.
My son is 10 months, and in his 10 months, he has heard loud verbal abuse, and he has witnessed physical abuse. And
So that alone is traumatic for a mother, because I'm a mother. I have an 18-year-old son, and I can't imagine at that age, you know, my 10-month-old experiencing, you know, domestic violence and things like that. Although his father and I would argue and had arguments, but it was never physical.
it's quite
So,
traumatic
Yeah,
for
for you and your child, I'm sure.
myself and a 10-month-old.
So could you offer like any words of advice to other women or men, because men also experience domestic violence, I'm sure, but not as often or not as much as women. Could you offer like words of advice for people that may be experiencing it now?
My advice is to get out the first signs and don't do like I did and feel like you can fix it. There are professionals, facilities, shelters that can help you. You can't fix it yourself, and you can't expose your children to that.
So now, as a result of the domestic violence, could you do you mind sharing like what it led to now, what you're currently experiencing now? Because I know you're experiencing like a custody battle and things like that with your
As
son.
a result to my domestic violence, my ex-boyfriend gave my son to DYFS deliberately, put him in foster care. He said that if he couldn't have him, then I couldn't have him. And I'm currently fighting for custody. And it's been since July, and we're going on 4 months. My child was 7 months. He'll be 11 months soon. And I'm limited to 4 hours a week. I'm 43 years old. My child is my fourth and only surviving child. And it took me a hard, long, high-risk pregnancy to bring him to 38 weeks. He's perfectly healthy. Mm-hmm. And I'm fighting for him.
Yes. Is there anything, before I let you go, is there anything that we can do to help you, get custody or gain custody of your son back? Or is there any type of support that you need that I may be able to offer or viewers may be able to offer?
I have legal support. I have financial support, excuse me.
You're fine.
Emotional support. I have a lot of people writing letters for me, and they know my character. They know I wanted this little boy.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And he's my life, and I love my son immensely. Mm-hmm. And I'm following the steps for DYFS to get my son back, and I'm almost at the end. My next court date is in January. So I'll be going through the end of the year without my son, but hopefully I'll be having my son at the beginning of 2018.
So tell us, do you have like a website, or if not a website, like email address that maybe we can send a letter to? Because I will definitely write a letter.
I'm at becklesanika@yahoo.com.
becklesanika@yahoo.com. And it's spelled
BECKLESANIKA@yahoo.com.
Okay. Thank you for being a guest on the Natacha No Show. I'm a hugger. God bless you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Natacha knows. Natacha knows. You know what it is. Natacha knows.